Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna take you along with me on 10 days of cooking from my pantry, freezer, and fridge. We're gonna focus on my freezer, the meat freezer, the chest freezer that I have in the garage. We're gonna try to use up as much meat and chicken as we can before they get freezer burnt or I can't use them anymore. So I'm gonna share with you 10 dinners, a breakfast, and a dessert recipe. So let's go. So this is the freezer that I'm talking about. I want to use up these ground beef. I want to use all of these meats in this bag. This bag, I think there's some ravioli in it. But then there's also some chicken I need to use up in this bag. And there's more meat in the bottom, but those are newer. The ones on the top are older, so I want to use them up. So for this recipe, I'm using 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm making lasagna. I'm going to use up the cheeses I have in the fridge. And I have shared this recipe before on my channel, so I'll link that video in the description. I'm making 2 batches. I'm gonna send one to a family member. So yeah, these are everything I used up from my pantry and fridge. Here are my lasagnas fresh out of the oven. So in that bag in my freezer, I had some chorizo, which I put in the fridge to thaw overnight. And then I'm using my eggs from the fridge. I have a lot of eggs. I'm also using these leftover tortillas from a budget challenge video I made. I'm also using some cheese. I shredded some cheese and then the rest of that cheddar, and I'm gonna make breakfast burritos. Obviously, I'm cooking my chorizo and I have my eggs here, so I'm just gonna cook the eggs and chorizo together and make my burritos with the cheese. I made 4 burritos and this is mine. This was a delicious breakfast. On this same day for dinner, I wanted something quick and easy, and I had gotten from Costco these chicken patties. So I'm just gonna make chicken sandwiches. I'm also getting fries from my freezer. I have some buns in the fridge, so it's gonna be an easy dinner. I just cooked the chicken in the oven and I air fried the fries, and I just made some chicken sandwiches. The next day I made another very easy dinner. I had these tortillas in the fridge and I'm using a pound of ground beef, and I got some leftover shredded lettuce that I had in the fridge, and I also had some cilantro in the fridge, and obviously I'm making some ground beef tacos. I grabbed my taco seasoning. I have a lot of them in my pantry. I just cooked my ground beef and then drained the fat. Now I'm adding the packet of taco seasoning and adding a 1/3 cup of water, and I'm gonna bring this to a boil and cook it for about 4 to 5 minutes. While the meat is cooking, I'm chopping half of an onion and 1 bunch of cilantro to use as toppings for the taco. Here's our little taco bar. We have some cheese, shredded lettuce, green sauce, and this is my plate of food. I had a chuck roast in the freezer, so I'm taking it out. I also have some carrots in my fridge, which I want to use. And in my spice cabinet, I have a Lipton onion soup packet. They come in a pack of 2, but I've only used 1, and this has been sitting in the pantry. And in this bag, I have the last of some potatoes. I'm just gonna use all of them. I have 5 potatoes, and I'm gonna make a roast in the slow cooker. I diced the potatoes and about 3 carrots. I added them to my slow cooker, and now I'm adding the roast on top. I'm gonna also add that packet of Lipton onion soup seasoning, salt and pepper, and also half a cup of water. This needs to cook on low for about 8 hours, but I had some extra time, so I cooked it on low for 10 hours, and the roast was so tender. Here it is after 10 hours. The roast is cooked, the potatoes and carrots are so tender. This was a very, very delicious dinner. Here's my plate of food. I had these pulled pork barbecues sitting in my freezer, so I put them in the fridge to thaw overnight. So I'm gonna use the pork to make some pork sandwiches. So I'm also grabbing the rest of those buns from my fridge, and also I'm gonna use a bag of shredded lettuce that I have in the fridge, and I'm just gonna make easy, simple dinner pulled pork barbecue sandwiches. This pork is fully cooked, so I'm just reheating it according to the package instructions. And I'm also grabbing the rest of those fries from my freezer. I'm gonna air fry those to have on the side with the sandwiches. I put some mayo and the shredded lettuce on one side of the bun, and then on the other side I put some mustard, and then I put the pork. I also grabbed some pickles that we had on hand and put them on the pork. And I also remembered I have these French fried onions in my pantry, so I put those. And I'm so glad I remembered I have these, because these are what made these sandwiches so yummy and crunchy. Here's my plate of food. We had these with some French fries on the side. The next day, I wanted to use up these steaks I had sitting in my freezer for a long time. So I decided to make some steak fajitas. Since these were sirloin steak strips, they were perfect. They were already cut into strips. And I also used some bell peppers I had in my fridge. These were getting old and I had to use them up. I'm using one of the green bell peppers, the other one I'm gonna put in the freezer. And I'm also using 2 of the other colors of the bell peppers. And I'm also using the rest of the tortillas from that taco night. I put them in the freezer to use later. From my pantry, I'm grabbing a can of rotel or tomatoes with green chilies. And I'm also grabbing my fajita seasoning from my spice cabinet, and I'm gonna cook this in my slow cooker. I had half of an onion in my fridge. I'm gonna use that too. So I'm chopping up 1.5 onions, and then I'm gonna chop the bell peppers and then put everything in my slow cooker. I'm adding the steaks into my slow cooker and the can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. I'm also adding 3 tablespoons of fajita seasoning. I'm also gonna add some paprika and salt and pepper. I'm mixing everything together, and then I'm gonna cook this on high for 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for 6 to 7 hours. On my kid's birthday every month, I like to make them a cake and celebrate until they turn 1 year old, and then we'll just celebrate every year. And on this day, my daughter was turning 10 months old, so I wanted to make her a cake. I searched the internet for a recipe using things I have on hand, and since I had these nectarines sitting in my fridge, no one was eating them. I found a recipe for peach upside down cake using a box of cake mix, some brown sugar, butter, and since I have the nectarines, obviously I'm gonna use those instead of the peaches. And I'm using 3 eggs, and it called for a 1/3 cup of peach juice, but I had these juice box, so I'm just gonna use that. I cut the nectarines into thin slices, and then I melted 1/2 cup of butter in the microwave, and I added it to my 9x13 pan, and then I added a cup of brown sugar on top of the butter, and I'm gonna put this in the oven while the oven is preheating to 350 degrees. While the oven is preheating to 350 degrees and the pan is in the oven, I am preparing my batter. I added the cake mix and 1/3 cup of juice and 3 eggs, and I'm beating them according to the package instructions on the cake mix. Now that the batter is ready and the oven is heated, I took out my pan and I'm adding the slices of nectarines in the pan. I'm adding the batter on top of the nectarines and just trying to distribute the batter as even as possible. I think the recipe called for an 18-ounce box of cake mix, but the one I had was, I think, 15 and a half. But it's okay, it's gonna work out just fine. I'm gonna bake this on 350 degrees for 40 minutes. Here it is, fresh out of the oven. I let it cool for 5 minutes and then I turned it upside down, and it was looking so good, and also it tasted really good. Here's a piece after we celebrated my daughter's 10th month. Here's the fajita cooked after 4 hours. We topped it with some lettuce and green sauce, and we only had a little bit of cheese left. And here's how it looked. So on this day, I'm gonna use one of the ravioli packs that I have to make an easy, quick dinner. I'm kind of struggling to take the ravioli out with one hand. I get these from Costco. It comes in a pack of 2, but I'm using only 1 today. And then from my fridge, I'm getting the pesto sauce. Again, it's from Costco. I think I shared that haul with you guys. And since I have this Caesar salad kit from Aldi, I'm also gonna use this, and this is gonna be our dinner tonight. Just ravioli with pesto sauce and Caesar salad on the side. I just cooked the raviolis according to the package instructions, and then I drained the water and I added the pesto sauce. I also added a little bit of reserved pasta water, mixed it all together, and dinner is ready to be served. For my freezer, I put a pack of chicken breasts in my fridge to thaw overnight, and I had the rest of the sun-dried tomatoes I wanted to use. The oil leaked in the fridge, so that's why it's dirty there. And also I wanted to use up the rest of this spinach I had. So I found this recipe online for Tuscan chicken pasta. So I'm gonna make that. To my pan, I'm adding some olive oil and heating it up. I cut my chicken into bite-sized pieces, and now I'm adding them to the hot pan. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and a teaspoon of paprika and salt and pepper. I'm gonna cook the chicken for about 7 minutes or until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Now that the chicken is done, I'm gonna take it out and put it on the side. To the same pan, I'm adding 1 chopped onion, and I'm gonna cook this for a few minutes. Now I'm adding a teaspoon of minced garlic, and I'm gonna cook it for about a minute. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm gonna mix everything together and cook this for a couple of minutes. Now I'm adding 3 cups of chicken broth and a 1/3 cup of drained sun-dried tomatoes. I'm also adding 8 ounces of uncooked penne pasta I also added the chicken back in, and now I'm seasoning it with salt and pepper. I'm mixing everything together, and then I'm gonna bring it to a boil. Now that it's boiling, I'm gonna cover it, bring the heat to low, and cook it for about 15 minutes or until the pasta is done. Now that the pasta is done, I'm adding a cup of heavy cream and half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna add about 3 cups of spinach and mix it all together until the spinach cooks down. Now that the spinach has cooked down, I'm adding half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese and mixing it all together until the cheese melts. And it's ready to be served. And here's my plate of food. So on this day, I'm using the smoked sausage that I have in my freezer, and this is the last piece of meat in this bag, so that's good. And from my freezer, I'm getting the bell peppers, which I put in the freezer. And you can skip this step, but just for the texture, I'm gonna fry the smoked sausage a little bit in my skillet. But this is gonna be slow cooker meal, so you can totally skip this step. I'm taking out the smoked sausage from the pan. To my slow cooker, I'm adding the 2 bell peppers and 1 onion that I chopped. I'm also adding the smoked sausage and a can of diced tomatoes with basil and garlic. You can use plain diced tomatoes if you want. I'm adding Italian seasoning, basil, red pepper flakes, salt, and pepper. I'm giving it a mix, and then I'm gonna cook this on high for 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for about 7 hours. We're having this with some rice, and this is my plate of food. This is the next day, and I had some leftover rice, so I grabbed the chicken, the last chicken in this bag, so I can make chicken fried rice. I grabbed these frozen veggies from my freezer. To my pan, I added 1.5 teaspoons of sesame oil and 1.5 teaspoons of vegetable oil. I cut my chicken into bite-sized pieces and added it to the hot pan. I'm seasoning the chicken with salt, pepper, and onion powder. I'm gonna cook the chicken for about 6 minutes or until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Now that the chicken is cooked, I'm gonna take it out and put it on the side. I'm adding another 1.5 teaspoon of sesame oil and 1.5 teaspoon of vegetable oil. I'm adding 2 green onions and that bag of frozen vegetables to the pan, and I'm gonna cook them for a few minutes. Now I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and I'm gonna cook it for a minute. I'm adding a little bit of vegetable oil to the middle of my pan, and now I'm gonna add the 2 eggs and scramble them away from the vegetables. Now that the eggs have cooked, I'm gonna mix everything together. I'm adding back the chicken and about 3 cups of cooked leftover rice. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then I'm gonna add some salt, pepper, and ginger powder and mix everything together. And it's ready to be served, and this is my plate of food. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe, hit that notification button, and give me a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.